Before we dive into this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into it. My name is Erica. I'm 29, and lately I feel like I've been screaming into a void. It's as if everyone around me is watching my life unravel and assuming I am just having a dramatic breakdown. We had been together for 7 years, 3 of them as husband and wife. We weren't flashy. We didn't live some glamorous life, but we were stable. He was loyal, hardworking, handsome, in a clean-cut, boy-next-door kind of way. He didn't party, didn't cheat, didn't lie. He never raised his voice. The way he deep-pulled me in while I was brushing my teeth just to kiss the back of my neck. How he'd whisper things in my ear while we watched TV. It was sweet, intimate proof that he wanted me, craved me. He cooked on weekends and folded the towels in neat little rectangles. I thought he'd get it, that he'd understand that I needed space sometimes, that I wasn't rejecting him, just asking for a different kind of love. People loved him. My mom adored him. My friends envied me. A hug didn't end with warmth, it ended with a hand sliding lower, or a suggestion whispered in a certain tone. He wouldn't say it, but the message was clear. My rejection, however gentle, wounded him, and so I started giving in, even when I didn't want to, even when I felt hollow, because it was easier to let him touch me than deal with the guilt of denying him. He thought all of it, his constant need to touch, to comment, to initiate, was proof of how much he adored me. He called me beautiful, told me I was sexy in the mornings when I hadn't even brushed my teeth, and for a while, I pretended to be flattered. I smiled through it, because what woman doesn't want to feel wanted? I could be unloading groceries, sorting bills, or literally crying from stress. I felt used, like my body was a convenience, not a connection. Can't I just be a person for 5 minutes? And he'd still find a way to grope me. Like his desire came before everything, before my exhaustion, before my sadness, before me. Rage that he hadn't asked once about my week, my job, my exhaustion. And that night, he slept on the couch. Rage that I had become nothing but an object to him. I stopped wearing anything remotely flattering, hoping maybe, just maybe, he'd stop looking at me like a hunger he couldn't satisfy. I told him I was tired of being groped like a toy, that I needed tenderness, not lust, that his affection didn't feel like love anymore, it felt like demand. But it didn't stop him. It was like he'd shut off every part of himself that felt anything for me. And it hurt. Emotional intimacy. But instead of working with me to find a middle ground, he disappeared behind politeness and silence. We stopped having real conversations. Meals were eaten in silence. The only texts were about groceries or bills. He still did the dishes, still took the dog for walks. She laughed at his jokes, asked about his life, flirted, made him feel wanted. And in that moment, he realized how empty he felt at home, how rejected, how invisible. Didn't bring me a souvenir like he used to. He was polite. He told me he loved me, but he didn't like how he felt around me anymore, detached. But I also know this. It is not wrong to want to feel safe in your own body. It is not selfish to ask your partner to see all of you, not just your skin, no screaming. Just a man who packed his bags and left behind a hollow woman who couldn't stop wondering how love had failed her. But the warmth was gone. We were two ghosts haunting the same house. We had a 2-bedroom home on the edge of town, a dog named Murphy, and matching toothbrush holders. I see the sparkle in his eyes that used to be mine, and I wonder, was I really so cold? Was I so hard to love? But what followed was, in healing it, was distance. Cold, painful distance. I fold laundry in silence. Just love. I still cry in the shower. Normally, we'd talk, constantly texts, check-ins, goodnight calls. But this time, nothing. A couple of dry updates about his flight. That was it. You know, the kind of life people post about with the captain just grateful. Maybe I am. Maybe I've finally reached the edge and jump. Or maybe for the first time I'm finally being honest with myself. Jackson walked in, wrapped his arms around me from behind, and started kissing my neck. I froze. I was married to Jackson. He was 31 when everything fell apart. Our clinic's database had crashed, and I was pulling 12-hour days trying to help recover lost patient records. I was mentally and physically exhausted. I hadn't slept more than 4 hours in days. My eyes burned. My shoulders ached. I just wanted one moment where I didn't have to carry the weight of everything. and I was grateful. At least, I thought I was. Jackson was, by all accounts, the kind of man everyone told me I'd be lucky to find. But no one saw what it was like to live inside that house with him. No one saw me flinch when he touched me. In the beginning, his affection felt romantic. It made me feel cherished, adored. But slowly, what once felt like love started to feel like pressure. Over time, every touch carried an expectation. A kiss was no longer just a kiss. At first, I laughed it off. I'd push his hand away and say, "Not now," but he didn't get it. Instead, he started sulking. If I pulled away, his whole mood would shift. He'd go quiet, distant, and that's how it happened. That's how I lost myself little by little. I became a stranger in my own skin. I avoided eye contact. I walked around the house in oversized clothes. And the worst part, he thought it was love, but I didn't feel wanted. Still, I kept quiet. Until the week everything exploded. It had been the worst week of my career. That night, I was folding laundry on our bed. Simple, quiet, mechanical, just trying to get through something mindless. I didn't feel butterflies. I felt trapped. I turned around and, without thinking, snapped. "Do you always have to turn everything into sex?" He stepped back like I'd slapped him. His eyes filled with hurt. But all I felt was rage that he didn't see me. I let it all out of everything I'd been holding in. He didn't yell. Jackson never yelled. He stood there in stunned silence and finally said, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize. For a while, I thought we were finally going to fix it." He stopped touching me. Completely. No hugs, no goodnight kisses, no forehead taps or playful nudges, because I didn't want no affection. I wanted consensual affection. Then came the business trip. Jackson had to go to Houston for a logistics conference. He was only gone for 4 days. I didn't even miss him. When he came back, he looked different, like something in him had shifted. He didn't rush to hug me. 2 days later, he sat me down and said, "I think we need to talk." He told me nothing happened on the trip, but there was a woman, someone he talked to at a mixer. He said he wasn't blaming me, but he couldn't keep living in a house where affection felt like a crime. And just like that, it was over. He moved out 2 weeks later. No drama. Now, I see photos of him on social media smiling with some woman who wears red lipstick and rides bikes and looks at him like he hung the moon. I know I didn't do everything right. I know I could have communicated better, reached out sooner, but that truth doesn't stop the ache. I sleep alone now, and some nights I wrap a blanket around myself and imagine what it would feel like to be held with no agenda. Maybe someday